Have you ever been in that moment? You're sitting across from someone, maybe in a brightly lit office or even just on a video call,
Hmm.
and they're asking you about yourself, and suddenly your mind just goes blank.
Oh, yeah. Happens to the best of us.
Right. You're trying to present your absolute best self, trying to convey all your skills, your passion, your experience, but the words just, they aren't quite coming. It's tough. It really is. That universal challenge of the job interview.
Hmm.
And, well, for many of you listening, especially if you're navigating these crucial conversations in English, a language that might not be your first, it can feel like you're facing two interviews.
That's a really good way to put it.
One for the job itself and another sort of silent one for your language skills.
Yeah,
That extra layer of pressure is real, and we absolutely understand that feeling. We really get it.
we do.
We want you to know you are definitely not alone in that journey, and today we're here to make that path hopefully a lot clearer, maybe a little less daunting.
You're absolutely right. Think of this deep dive as your personal guide, not just what to say in those challenging interview moments, but really how to approach them.
Okay.
We're going to help you transform those, perceived hurdles into genuine opportunities to shine.
Oh.
We want to empower you, help you build confidence, not just in the specific words you choose, but in your fundamental ability to present your unique self, your true capabilities, no matter what linguistic nuances might be in front of you. You've absolutely got this.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into something universally challenging yet absolutely critical for your career journey, the job interview.
The big one.
Exactly. And this isn't merely about answering questions, right? It's about strategically presenting yourself as the ideal candidate, understanding what interviewers are really looking for behind their questions.
What's the subtext?
Yeah, exactly. And even knowing what crucial questions you should be asking them.
So important.
Yeah.
Because in today's incredibly competitive landscape, your skills, your impressive resume, your academic achievements, these are often just, well, the entry ticket.
Gets you in the door.
Gets your foot in the door. But the interview, that's where you truly differentiate yourself. It's where you paint this vivid, compelling portrait of who you are, what unique value you bring to the table, and most importantly, how you'll contribute meaningfully to an organization's success. It is, more often than not, the single most important factor in landing the job you truly want.
So our mission today is to equip you with the strategies and insights to confidently navigate any interview scenario. We'll unpack why certain questions are asked, what the interviewer truly wants to hear beyond the surface, and how to craft responses that don't just answer, but deeply resonate with their needs. You'll learn to anticipate those curveballs, understand different interviewer styles, and ultimately present yourself as the invaluable asset you undeniably are.
We'll cover everything, really, from foundational self-assessment and building your, let's call it, personal dossier, all the way to handling the trickiest, most unexpected questions. We'll even touch on how to recognize truly inappropriate inquiries, which unfortunately still happen, and, crucially, how to master the art of the follow-up.
Right.
By the end of this deep dive, you'll have a clear, actionable roadmap to transform your next interview from, a nerve-wracking ordeal into a powerful, engaging conversation. Okay, let's unpack this.
So let's kick things off with a fundamental mindset shift. This is key. Forget thinking that an interview is just a Q&A session where they ask and you answer.
Right.
It's actually much more like a sales process. And the product being sold, well, that's you.
Exactly. And it's surprising how many candidates walk into an interview completely unprepared to talk about themselves in a compelling, structured way. They might, stumble, give disjointed answers, or just fall back on canned, generic replies.
Oh, yeah, you can spot this a mile away.
You really can.
Yeah.
And it's a huge missed opportunity because your success in that interview hinges almost entirely on your ability to effectively convey your unique features and benefits to that potential employer. You're selling your skills, your experience, your personality, your potential contributions, the whole package.
And the key to making that sale, like any good sale, is preparation. It's not just 50% of the interview. Honestly, it's often more.
I agree, probably more.
To truly prepare, you need to build what we're calling a comprehensive dossier on your own life. And this isn't just for your resume, it's a deep dive into you. It's designed to help you construct concise, convincing answers to virtually any interview question, answers that truly set you apart.
Think of it as your personal arsenal for job hunting, like your secret weapon. This detailed self-inventory helps you articulate your value right there on the spot. For every single job you've held full-time, part-time, even those short summer gigs.
Even though...
Absolutely. Yeah. Because even those summer jobs demonstrate resourcefulness, responsibility, initiative. They show early signs of your work ethic, your independence. So you need to document key details for all of them. This level of detail isn't about memorizing every single fact, but it's about having this deep well of specific, quantifiable examples ready to draw from.
Okay, so what exactly goes into this employment data input sheet within the dossier?
Well, first, the basics. You want to list the employer's name, their address, contact info, the names of your supervisors, and the exact dates you worked there, down to the month and year.
Okay, meticulous detail.
Meticulous. It helps prepare you for background checks and keeps your story consistent. Then you dive into the specifics of each job. Go beyond just general duties. Quantify your responsibilities whenever possible.
Examples.
Sure. Instead of just saying managed accounts, aim for something like managed 120 active accounts, contributing $3 million in annual revenues. Or maybe reviewed the activity of 3 telephone salespeople daily.
Right, much clearer, more impactful.
Way more impactful. If you had supervisory experience, note the exact number of people you managed.
Yeah.
What specific skills were required? Or, even better, what skills did you develop on the job? Like trained other sales staff in new product lines or handled telephone support for a customer base of over 100 clients?
And this is where you get to kind of brag, right? But with specifics, not just hot air, your key accomplishments.
Exactly. Brag with evidence. Don't just say improved efficiency. Instead say, developed a new call reporting system that increased territory volume by 20% within 18 months.
Wow, okay.
Or oversaw the computerization of the entire department, realizing cost savings of 15% in the first year. Document every promotion, award, honor, special recognition. Even for part-time jobs, include the hours worked per week. It demonstrates commitment and your ability to balance things.
And it's not just paid work you mentioned.
Definitely not. Volunteer work is incredibly important and often overlooked. Interviewers actually weigh after-hours activities pretty heavily because they suggest you're a well-rounded individual, not just, a workaholic.
Right, someone with outside interests.
Exactly. So create a similar data sheet for every volunteer organization. Their contact info, your supervisor's name, dates of involvement, approximate hours per month, your specific duties, the skills you used, major accomplishments, any awards received. Even prestigious high school awards can be relevant if they show early development of desired traits like leadership or problem solving.
Makes sense. What about education?
Critical component. For recent grads, focus on college grad and undergrad, high school details. Typically only relevant if you're still in college and graduation is more than a year away. List credits earned, major minor, GPA, class rank if it's good, honors, important courses.
And for, say, liberal arts majors?
Great question. Emphasize those transferable skills. Writing ability, researching analytical skills, debating, language, communication abilities. A key insight here is you can actually custom produce your resume for each job, highlighting pertinent courses that directly match that job description.
Smart. Very tailored.
Very tailored. Beyond formal education and work, list all your activities. Sports, clubs, groups, in or out of school. This again shows well-roundedness. For each, note the name and purpose, offices held, committees, specific duties, key accomplishments.
Okay, got it. What if someone has military service?
That's a significant asset. Employers are often really impressed by the maturity and the excellent management training gained in the armed forces. Detail your final rank, duties, responsibilities, citations, awards, specific training, special skills developed, key accomplishments. It all builds a picture.
And languages, you mentioned that earlier.
Yes, in today's globalized world, language skills are invaluable. Even if the job isn't overtly international, being able to read, write, or speak other languages can make you an indispensable asset.
But be realistic, right?
Be realistic. 1 year of college Russian might show initiative, but to highlight it as a strong asset, you really need something closer to native-like conversational ability. And this is where, for our English learning listeners, your very presence here, your dedication to improving your English, is itself a testament to your initiative and adaptability qualities highly valued by employers.
That's a great point. So once you have all these facts, the what laid out in your dossier, it's time for the putting it in your perspective step, moving to the why.
Precisely. This moves beyond just facts to your unique personal perspective. It's about self-exploration, getting you ready to answer those deeper why questions that reveal your character and motivations.
Like what kind of questions?
Like, which achievements did you enjoy most or are you proudest of, and how do they directly relate to the target position? What mistakes have you made? And more importantly, why did they happen, and what specific steps have you taken to prevent them from happening again? That shows self-awareness, a growth mindset. How well do you interact with authority figures? Bosses, teachers, parents. Can you give specific examples that highlight your collaborative nature or your ability to navigate tricky dynamics?
Even seemingly casual questions, like about hobbies.
Yes. What are your favorite games or sports? Does it reveal if you're overly competitive? Do you give up easily? Are you a good loser or maybe a bad winner? Do you rise to a challenge or back away? Or what kinds of people are your friends? Only similar people? Or do you genuinely enjoy and tolerate differences? Why have friendships ended? And what does that say about your interpersonal skills? It sounds deep, but it helps you prepare.
It does sound deep, but useful.
And a really powerful way to gain self-awareness is to ask yourself, if friends and acquaintances were asked to describe you, what adjectives, good and bad, would they use? And why? What specific behaviors, skills, achievements, or failures seem to define you in their eyes? The better you know yourself, the better you can articulate your value when you're on the spot.
So after all that digging, you compile lists. Strengths, skills, accomplishments.
Exactly. Your strongest skills, greatest areas of knowledge, personality strengths, things you do best, key accomplishments.
And then the crucial step.
Transforming those features into benefits for the company. You have to articulate how your personal inventory convinces this employer that you deserve this specific position. What truly separates you from other applicants. And by analyzing your mistakes and negative feedback, you identify areas for improvement, developing new skills, improving relations with authority. The bottom line is, the more time you invest in this cool-headed prep, the less you'll sweat in the interviewer's hot seat. It builds real confidence.
Okay, so you've built your dossier, you're feeling prepared about yourself. Now let's talk about the interview landscape itself, because like you said, the days of simple applications and maybe one or two quick chats are long gone.
Oh, they are long gone.
Yeah.
Modern employers, they really leave nothing to chance, and the hiring process has evolved a lot. You might encounter several different types of interviewers, and each one has their own objectives, their own styles. Understanding these can give you a real edge, help you tailor your responses effectively.
Okay, who's first?
First up, let's talk about the entrepreneur or CEO. Often, this is your first point of contact, maybe doing a telephone screen.
Okay.
Their philosophy is pretty direct.
Yeah.
I have a personnel problem to solve, and I don't plan on wasting my valuable time talking in person to anybody but the very best.
Straight shooter.
Very much so. Their main goal, identify reasons to remove you from consideration before an in-person meeting. So conversations can feel quite abrupt. They've got a lot on their plate.
And the challenge there is no face-to-face cues, right?
Exactly. You lose that crucial eye contact, body language, two really valuable tools for building rapport. You're relying almost entirely on your verbal communication.
So how do you prep for that kind of call?
You need to project a positive image purely through your voice.
Good.
Seriously, try smiling as you speak. It subtly changes your tone, makes you sound more positive, more engaging.
Interesting.
And standing up or walking around during the call can actually help calm nerves and give your voice more energy.
Good tip. And the environment for that call matters too, right?
Absolutely key. Have everything ready. Your resume, cover letter, questions for them, notepad, your company research, a glass of water right next to the phone.
Sure.
Make sure you've taken care of any personal needs beforehand. Put a do not disturb sign on your door if you can. And a critical rule, never ever put the interviewer on hold.
Never. Okay. What if they call and just jump right in?
It's perfectly okay to politely ask if you can call back at a mutually agreeable time. Just say you want to give them your full attention and step away from what you were doing. Shows professionalism.
Good. Okay, who's next?
Next, you might face the human screen. This is typically your HR or personnel professional. Interviewing is a key part of their daily job, so they meet a lot of people.
Right, the gatekeepers.
Kind of. Their objective is to build a strong group of qualified candidates for the hiring managers, while also managing this huge pool of applicants effectively. Common reasons they might screen you out: lack of formal or informal qualifications, sudden changes in hiring priorities internally, or, frankly, poor performance in the interview itself.
And they're busy.
They are swamped. So sometimes just uncertainty about your current status or missing contact info can lead to inaction on their part.
What are their strengths, though?
They usually excel at what we call separating the wheat from the chaff, distinguishing the truly qualified from the less suitable. They have tons of face-to-face experience, so they're often skilled at spotting inconsistencies or, let's be honest, lies on resumes.
Uh-huh.
And they can spend comparatively long amounts of time with candidates they see as qualified. So if you get past that initial screen, be ready for a pretty thorough discussion.
But limitations.
Their main limitation is often a lack of direct, day-to-day job knowledge for the specific role. They tend to rely heavily on formal job summaries, which might be imperfect, and they might quantify assessments in hard numbers, like meeting 3 years doing X, Y, or Z.
The checklist approach.
Exactly, which can sometimes lead them to overlook important interpersonal skills or the specific temperament needed for a role. So you might get passed over even if you're a great fit, or maybe passed through even if you're not quite qualified, just based on hitting those checklist items.
Okay. And the third main type.
And finally, the hiring manager. This person often has direct supervisory experience in the area of the opening. They bring a really unique, intuitive perspective on who will actually fit the team. They're often the ultimate decision maker.
So they know the job inside out.
They should. That's their strength, that excellent intuitive sense. But their weakness, they can sometimes be less than stellar interviewers.
Really? How so?
Well, many lack formal interview training. They might misuse the interview time to just get to know more about you personally, rather than asking specific, targeted questions about your skills and experience. It's not uncommon for a manager to decide against a good candidate simply because their questions were ambiguous or they just failed to conduct a proper interview.
And nobody's checking their work, usually.
Exactly. No one typically monitors their interview performance, so
Yeah.
it can be a real wild card. Your task here is really to convince even the densest of managers that you are the best person. We're often seeking this sort of elusive feeling that you fit the organization and can contribute right away.
Okay, those are the types. What about problematic behaviors you might encounter?
Right. One is the "it's all about me" interviewer.
Yeah.
This person tells their life story, spends most of the time talking about themselves, maybe thinks they have to sell the company hard.
Yeah, I've met that type.
It usually stems from their own nervousness or inexperience. Your role in that situation. You need to subtly try to carry the conversational load, gently steer them back towards your qualifications.
Tricky. And the other problematic type.
Then there's the out-of-it interviewer, someone who seems, well, incapacitated, maybe drunk or stoned, though hopefully rare, or just constantly distracted by their phone or email, or maybe they go on unexpected tirades. The implication here is pretty clear. If they treat you with such indifference before you're hired, how will they act after? In these situations, honestly, it's worth seriously considering if this is a place you actually want to work. Maybe it's a sign to move on.
Good point. Okay, let's shift to common interview styles.
Yes, the behavioral interview is super popular now. The focus is on using your past behavior to predict your future performance. They'll often ask things like, "Tell me about a time," or "How did you handle yourself in some really tight spots?"
The STAR method territory.
Exactly. Your strategy is to be specific using STAR. Describe the situation, the task, the action you took, and the result. Be honest about any limitations you faced, like "we lacked adequate staff." If you made a mistake, own it. Admit it openly, clearly explain what you learned and what you do differently now. Show self-awareness, growth.
What about meeting a whole group? The team interview.
Right. You might meet with a group, maybe prospective colleagues or a cross-section of the department. This is more common now with flatter hierarchies.
And it can vary wildly, right?
It really can. It could range from a pleasant conversation to a torturous interrogation, depending on the group's dynamic and how it's managed.
Benefits.
You get a broader range of questions, potentially uncovering more of your skills. And they get to see how you interact in a group setting, your strategy. Take your time, listen carefully to each question, and treat every single member of the panel with equal respect.
What if they ask the same question multiple times?
Good question, especially in a tag team approach where they take turns. If that happens, vary your answers. Cite different projects, different experiences, different successes or failures. Avoid sounding like a Johnny one-note, someone with only one story. Show your breath.
Makes sense. Then there's the dreaded stress interview.
Ah, yes. Designed specifically to assess your reaction under pressure. Questions might sound deliberately gruff or rude, like, "Why the hell should I hire you?" They want to see if you crack.
What kind of techniques might they use?
Things like ridicule, prolonged, uncomfortable silence, obviously checking the clock, showing disinterest, challenging every single answer you give, or interrupting you constantly.
Wow. Sounds
Huh.
unpleasant.
It can be. The key is to recognize it's an artificial scenario.
No.
It's a game they're playing. Don't take it personally or become despondent. They're generally not trying to genuinely dislike you. Watch your tone of voice very carefully. Avoid sarcasm at all costs.
And it's also a chance for you to evaluate them, right?
Absolutely. Ask yourself, do I want to work for a company that uses techniques like this? Is it going to be gruel at 9, thumbs screws at 2? To distinguish this, though, from a negative interview, which just emphasizes the job's downsides realistically, like, look, you'll be cleaning toilets every Saturday as part of this role. That's just being upfront.
Okay. What about the case interview? Common in consulting, finance.
Yes. They present hypothetical job situations to gauge traits that lead to success. These are hard to prepare for directly because the scenarios are often unique.
What's the goal?
They want to see how you analyze an unfamiliar problem and develop a strategy. They're looking for a mix of real-world experience, inspired creativity, and a willingness to acknowledge when more information or assistance is needed.
Strategy for tackling those.
Take notes as they present the problem. Ask clarifying questions. Some info might even be irrelevant, testing your discernment. Avoid generalizations. Offer concrete steps. Don't get lost in minor details. Focus on the most important factors. And crucially, share your thoughts out loud. Your thought process matters as much, if not more, than the final answer.
Right, they want to see how you think.
Exactly. Resist the urge for speed. Take your time. A creative approach is fine, but make sure it fits within a logical framework. And for technical jobs, expect walk the walk, tests, typing, coding, maybe even a mock sales pitch.
Related to that, the brain teaser interview. The how many golf balls fit in a 747 type questions.
Yeah, those. Examples like, how would you move Mount Fuji? Or, how many oil wells are there in Texas?
What's the point of those?
Their purpose is usually to assess creativity and problem-solving skills, maybe in a less structured way than a full case interview. Again, the strategy is similar. Take your time. Ask pertinent questions to clarify assumptions or narrow the scope, and talk through your approach. It's about the process, the logic, how you break down an absurd problem, not getting the right number.
Okay, so lots of different types and styles. Any general tips to ace any interview?
Yes, absolutely. Some overarching advice. First, and maybe hardest, relax. Try to think of it as an adventure, learning opportunity. Try to genuinely enjoy the conversation. Sometimes imagining the interviewer as a celebrity you admire can actually help ease the tension. Sounds weird, but it can work.
Interesting trick. What else?
Second, keep smiling. Not a fake plastered-on grin, but a pleasant, relaxed smile. It's a natural byproduct of an interesting conversation that makes you seem agreeable, approachable. Third, be enthusiastic. Show genuine excitement about the position, your past achievements, the company itself, but don't gush. It needs to feel authentic, not over the top.
Authenticity is key.
Totally. Fourth, be honest, non-negotiable. Even small white lies on a resume or in the interview can be grounds for immediate dismissal later if discovered. Fifth, make lots of eye contact. Builds rapport, shows confidence. Just remember, don't stare. That can be unnerving. Natural, engaged eye contact. Sixth, remain positive. Always put a positive spin on everything, especially potentially loaded issues like why you left a job or past disagreements. Frame challenges as learning opportunities. And finally, don't let an unskilled interviewer trip you up. If they're rambling or asking weird questions, let your preparation shine through. If needed, subtly take control of the conversation to steer it back towards emphasizing how you will benefit them. And remember, your body language speaks volumes. Sit up straight, lean in slightly, use open gestures. It all communicates confidence and engagement.
All right, let's dive into what you call the granddaddy of all interview questions, that big one. So tell me about yourself. It often comes first or second, and it's more of a request, really.
It is, and it still unbelievably makes so many people stumble. Interviewers love it, though. It's an icebreaker, lets them gauge initial chemistry, and it forces you to do the talking initially, revealing how you organize your thoughts under pressure.
So it's a real opportunity, then.
It's your golden opportunity. A chance to demonstrate intelligence, enthusiasm, confidence, dependability right off the bat. And this is precisely where that meticulously prepared personal inventory, your dossier from segment 1, truly pays off. You've already done the thinking.
So what are they really looking for in the answer?
They want a well-thought-out, logically sequenced summary of your relevant experience, skills, talents, and schooling. It needs to be tightly focused. Aim for maybe 250, 350 words, which translates to about 90 to 120 seconds of speaking.
Okay, concise.
Concise and, crucially, it must directly tie your experience into the specific requirements of the job you're interviewing for. That's the most important part.
What should it include, structure-wise?
A good structure includes a brief introduction, highlights of your key accomplishments, connecting those accomplishments to your key strengths, explaining the importance of these strengths to this prospective employer, and maybe hinting at where and how you see yourself developing in this specific role, all delivered with a touch of, self-deprecating humor or modesty.
Can you give an example? Maybe for someone less experienced.
Sure. Think of Barb, a recent college grad applying for an entry-level sales job. She could start modestly, then highlight her sales-relevant skills, maybe being a good talker, but an even better listener.
Nice.
She could demonstrate industriousness from part-time jobs, express genuine enthusiasm for selling, maybe mentioning consultative selling, specifically to show she's done research. She could explain how writing a term paper on it led her to research companies like theirs, proving initiative.
What if there's a potential weakness, like no technical background for a technical product?
She could address that preemptively, express a strong willingness to learn the technical aspects, and then maybe ask an informed question about technical support available, subtly shifting the conversation back to the interviewer. Shows humility, foresight, engagement.
Okay, good example. What about someone experienced?
Okay, consider Ken, an experienced manager. He might immediately focus on positive resume points like consistent promotions. He'd steer the interview towards his leadership experience, market understanding, introduce humility, perhaps calling himself a roll-up-the-sleeves manager, and then turn the ball back with an informed question about new company ventures or challenges.
And the key is delivery, right? Not sounding robotic.
Absolutely. Neither Barb nor Ken would memorize word for word. They'd sound sincere, spontaneous. Ken might sprinkle in some industry jargon naturally. For our English learning listeners, practicing this initial narrative is so important. Focus on a natural cadence, not a memorized script. It's okay to pause, collect your thoughts. A brief pause can actually convey thoughtfulness.
So what are the definite red light responses here? Things to avoid.
First, lack of eye contact. You're trying to build rapport, connect. Second, lack of strong positive words or phrases. That first impression is vital. Third, a general meandering response without specifics. They want concrete accomplishments, not just, well, I did various things.
Right, no generalities.
Fourth, no relevance to the job or company. It's not about your hobbies, your dog, your favorite ice cream. Fifth, lack of enthusiasm. If you're not excited about this job, why should they be excited about hiring you?
Makes sense.
Sixth, excessive nervousness. A little is normal, but too much makes them wonder what you might be hiding. And finally, asking clarifying questions like, what exactly do you want to know? This question is so standard, they really expect you to have a tailored answer ready to go.
Okay. Are there common variations on tell me about yourself?
Oh, yeah. Things like, what makes you special? Or what makes you unique or different? Or even what 5 adjectives describe you best? Sometimes rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, or how would you describe your character?
How do you handle those? Same basic approach.
Pretty much. You use your prepared set piece, your core narrative, but you just edit it slightly for the nuance of the specific question. They're all fishing for the same core information, your key strengths and how you articulate them in a way that benefits their organization.
What about more aggressive versions? Like, why should I hire you?
Right. Or, why should I consider you a strong candidate? What's better about you than the other candidates? What can you do for us that someone else can't?
Those sound tough.
They are, but they're actually a golden opportunity to display the extent of your pre-interview research. If you've done your homework on the company, their challenges, their goals, you can answer this brilliantly by showing exactly how your specific skills and experience meet their specific needs. If you haven't done the research, you'll find yourself in a sea of hot water, as the saying goes. Big trouble.
Which leads nicely into the next common question. What are your strengths as an employee?
And here, you pull directly from those data input sheets you prepared. You match your documented strengths and accomplishments directly to the requirements listed in the job description.
So very targeted again.
Extremely targeted. For example, if meeting deadlines is listed as key, cite 2 or 3 specific pertinent examples from your past, especially times you met outrageous deadlines through Herculean efforts. Demonstrate, don't just state.
So overall strategy for getting ready for this killer question, whatever form it takes.
First, complete that detailed personal inventory we talked about in segment 1. Know yourself inside out. Second, Distill that into a compelling opening statement, enthusiastic, competent, painting you as the ideal candidate.
But don't memorize.
Don't memorize word for word. Aim for sounding fresh, sincere but spontaneous. Recording yourself practicing can be incredibly helpful here. Listen back to your tone, your pacing.
Good idea.
Make sure you include strong, positive phrases and words. Convey enthusiasm, confidence, knowledge, eagerness to learn. Use this opening answer to help set the course of the interview. Anticipate it'll be asked early on. And a great tactic. End your answer with the ball back in the interviewer's court. Ask them a relevant question. Gives you a breather, shows engagement.
Smart. Okay, another common one. How would your best friend or college roommate, favorite professor, boss, mother, etc., describe you?
Yeah, interviewers use this to try and get a glimpse of your character from an outside perspective. Build rapport. Starting with best friend often works well, as they supposedly know you best.
Some variations get tricky, right? Like describing your friend.
Right. Some might ask you to describe your best friend and then how you differ. The theory is you might inadvertently reveal your own flaws when describing someone else. Sneaky.
So the strategy.
Describe a person the interviewer would find easy to hire. Focus on positive, hireable traits. Reliable, team-oriented, good work ethic, positive attitude. You can answer indirectly for family or mentors if needed, always steering it back to professional qualities.
Okay. What about the classic future-gazing question? What do you want to be doing 5 years from now?
The purpose here is to see if your goals align with the company's likely trajectory for this role. Are you looking for fast growth, steady growth, or do you have unrealistic expectations for a position they know is maybe a dead end?
Is this question still popular?
It's actually becoming less popular because corporate change is so rapid now. There's often more focus on shorter-term goals like 90, 100, and 180-day plans, but you should still be ready for it.
What's a green light answer?
Start humbly. Something like, well, that will ultimately depend on my performance, on the job, and on the growth and opportunities offered by my employer. Then you can gently toot your own horn. Speak proudly but modestly about your potential. I've already demonstrated leadership characteristics. I'm confident I will take on progressively greater management responsibilities. I really enjoy building a team. Essentially, convey you want more responsibility, reports, turf, money, in line with the company's potential, and be ready for follow-up questions based on your answer.
And red light answers to avoid.
The cliché, your job, is just trite, providing no specific goals, even after probing. Insisting on staying in the exact same job, unless it is a known dead-end role. And definitely unrealistic expectations receptionist to CEO in 2 years, or making partner at a law firm in 4 years when the average is 7 to 10. Savvy candidates temper such boundless expectations, they make them realistic. Also, avoid fantastical answers like retired or running my own business doesn't show commitment to this role.
Okay. Now for a really tricky one, designed to uncover weaknesses. If you could change one thing about your personality just by snapping your fingers, what would it be and why?
Yeah, this one's tough. The goal for the interviewer is to confirm you have weaknesses, everyone does, but none that are lethal to your job performance.
What's the common bad advice here?
The conventional but terrible advice is to cite a weakness that's really a strength in disguise, like, oh, I just work too hard, or I'm a perfectionist. Interviewers see right through that. That sounds insincere.
So what is an acceptable answer?
A weakness you've already corrected, or a mistake you genuinely learned from. Turn the negative question into a positive response about growth. Even better. Cite a skill or qualification you obviously lacked, but one that wasn't remotely needed in the job you're applying for.
Example.
Like, I wish I were a naturally gifted public speaker, but since this role is primarily focused on data analysis and coding, it's not a core requirement. However, I'm actively working on it by joining Toastmasters in my free time because I believe communication is always valuable. Show self-awareness and proactivity without highlighting a relevant flaw.
What's a definite red light answer here?
Identifying a weakness directly related to or essential for the job, like I have trouble working with difficult people for a team-based role. Or a stupid basic weakness that just makes them question your judgment, like I have trouble getting up in the morning.
Right. And variations like greatest weakness or worst decision.
Same principle. They invite conversation, but are less open-ended. You need to turn the negative into a positive by focusing on lessons learned, changes made, and demonstrating growth and self-awareness.
How about describe your management philosophy for manager roles?
They want someone who delegates effectively, teaches and mentors their team, distributes work and credit fairly, Not a dictator, not a pushover. Someone who can succeed without being a fire-breathing workaholic who burns out their team.
So a green light answer, sounds like.
Emphasize that management is getting things done through other people. Talk about providing resources and the right environment, creating cohesive teams, judging based on performance, ensuring fair work distribution, empowering employees. You can conclude by saying this approach breeds loyalty and inspires hard work.
Okay. And what does failure mean to you?
They want a specific example, not a philosophy lecture. Interviewers use this to probe mistakes and bad decisions. They're looking for honesty, clear analysis of what went wrong, willingness to admit responsibility, and evidence of determination to change.
So a good answer might be,
Failure, to me, is not getting the job done when I have the means to do so. Then give a specific, relatable example, maybe taking on too much, lacking specific knowledge, blundering through instead of asking for help, and end strong. I learned a valuable lesson, and that won't ever happen to me again.
avoid being vague.
Definitely avoid wishy-washy, non-specific answers, and certainly don't confess many sins. Pick one good example with a clear lesson learned. For our English learning listeners, if you need a moment to recall a specific failure example, it's perfectly okay to say, "That's a thoughtful question. Let me recall a specific instance." It buys time and shows you're taking it seriously.
Okay, great advice. So just to summarize the key ways to convince an interviewer you're a great catch.
Do your homework thoroughly. Company, position, goals. Demonstrate your experience and exude confidence using concrete, relevant examples that quantify your impact. Be humble, show ability to succeed without being that fire-breathing workaholic. Appear firm but not dictatorial. Talk about delegation, tracking progress fairly.
Talk about growth, how you've grown, how goals changed. Admit to failures, but focus on what you learned and how you applied it. Showcase successes, position yourself as a well-rounded professional with a satisfying personal life. It's about painting that complete, compelling picture. Okay, let's talk about that infamous catch-22 for candidates who might not have a ton of direct experience, that classic dilemma. You need experience to get the job, but how can you get experience if you can't get a job?
Ah, yes, the frustrating cycle.
What?
It's a really common challenge, especially for recent grads or career changers.
So what's the strategy?
The strategic insight here is you need to upgrade your experience no matter how little or minor. Well, of course, always avoiding blatant exaggeration. You have to concentrate on what the interviewer truly wants to see.
Which is?
A well-rounded person who, in addition to getting decent grades, demonstrated desirable traits like leadership, team building, strong writing, communicating through extracurricular activities, internships, and a part-time work experience. It's about showing a pattern of these relevant traits, even if not in a traditional full-time role.
Got it. So when they ask, what extracurricular activities were you involved in, what are they looking for?
They want evidence of industriousness, enthusiasm, confidence, energy, dependability, honesty, or you're a problem solver, a team player, a hard worker. These activities can reveal that.
What's a green light response?
Activities highly relevant to the job or industry are great, like the college newspaper editor applying for a publishing job. If you primarily work during school, you can frame that positively. I wish I'd had more time to write for the school paper, but my part-time job taught me so much about working with diverse people and managing my time effectively.
And red lights to avoid.
If your GPA is poor, because you spent an inordinate amount of time on activities generally, below a B average might raise questions. Or if your activities show no clear direction, just flitting from one thing to another. And definitely avoid bad jokes or overly flippant remarks about your activities. Keep it professional.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that for less experienced candidates, questions about education often substitute for, tell me about yourself. Like, why did you choose your college? Major, minor. Which courses most least liked?
Exactly. For liberal arts majors, again, focus on those transferable skills. Strong writing, research, analytical thinking, debating, language proficiency, communication. Don't feel handicapped by a non-technical major. Emphasize how your broad education prepared you for roles needing critical thinking and communication. Explain the thought process behind your choices.
And for technical roles?
They'll expect a pertinent major-minor. Showing interest in the field dating back to high school is definitely a plus.
How to handle the most least liked courses part?
A green light approach is to talk about valuable skills you developed even in courses you disliked. It shows a positive attitude towards necessary tasks. Crucially, don't blame the professor or the workload that hints at potential problems with authority or handling pressure. Show humility. Acknowledge you might have less specific job knowledge than seasoned pros, but express eagerness to do even unpleasant duties to learn and grow.
Red light is blaming others.
Yes, blaming the professor implies authority issues. Complaining about workload suggests you might struggle with demands. Expressing strong negative reactions to potentially mundane but necessary tasks is also a red flag.
What if they ask, why are you applying for a job in a field other than your major?
First, acknowledge that career changes and evolving interests are really common nowadays. The core strategy is to sell them on how your learning, even if indirect, will benefit them. Sure, a philosophy major applying for a tech startup role could emphasize how their training in logic and critical analysis helps them break down complex problems, a skill vital for product development or strategy. It's about connecting the dots for them.
How about if you were starting college tomorrow, what courses would you take?
This is a fantastic opportunity. Use it to show you now understand the job's requirements and would have chosen more pertinent courses if you knew then what you know now. Admit it took time to find the right path. A bit of candor is fine, but avoid suggesting a wholesale change of major. A green light is describing how even seemingly unrelated courses were valuable for your overall development, critical thinking, or communication skills. Red light answers. Frivolous things like, "I'd date more," or jokes like, "Same courses, but this time I'd pass," or answers showing you still don't grasp the job's purpose.
Makes sense. And internships? What did you learn from the internships on your resume?
Here, they're gauging how trainable you are, how you apply academic knowledge in the real world. No company expects a new hire, especially a recent grad, to hit the ground running knowing everything.
So the strategy.
Stress how your real-world internship experience complemented your academic training. Give specific examples of projects or skills learned, but never pretend college taught you the secret of life. Acting like a know-it-all is a definite red light.
Green light is showing practical learning.
Yes, highlighting pertinent internships, showing consistent career interests across them, and mentioning positive recommendations from supervisors. Red lights include having no internships in fields where they're expected, having only unrelated internships, or, obviously, poor or negative recommendations.
Okay, this one sounds tough for grads. In what courses did you get the worst grades? Why? How do you think that will affect your performance on this job?
Assume they will check your transcripts, so spill the beans now. Be honest and upfront. Don't wait for them to find it.
How to explain bad grades?
If they were in electives, you can explain you prioritize focusing your energy on your major courses. If a poor grade was in your major, you might attribute it to balancing demanding outside activities, but you need a justifiable explanation for why you prioritize those activities. For example, a leadership role directly relevant to career goals.
The key is taking responsibility.
Exactly. Explain it satisfactorily, take full responsibility, and don't get defensive. A red light would be having too many C's or D's without a reasonable explanation, or citing choices based on wisdom most interviewers would question, like prioritizing being student body president over your grades if the presidency wasn't clearly linked to developing relevant career skills.
Okay. Any special tips just for recent college grads navigating this?
Yes, a few key things. First, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't try to be a know-it-all. It's okay to admit you don't have all the answers. Use phrases like, "I think," or "from what I know about the industry so far."
Embrace being new.
Embrace the school of hard knocks, yes. Acknowledge there might be unpleasant or routine duties, but show your willingness to learn from the ground up. Admit finding your direction took time if you change majors. It's common. Show how those other studies still contributed to your overall development. And remember, legally, you don't have to answer questions about educational expenses or loans unless you want to highlight scholarships or working your way through as evidence of your dedication and resourcefulness.
And for our English learning listeners facing these questions,
Practicing concise, positive phrases like, "I'm a quick study," "I'm very eager to learn," or "I'm adaptable and resourceful" can be really powerful ways to convey these key traits confidently.
all right, let's get into the real meat of it for many interviews. The nitty-gritty of your past work history. This is where most questions will probably focus, right? Especially on your last few roles.
Absolutely. Be prepared to be thoroughly grilled here. They want details.
A common opening is that shotgun approach question you mentioned.
Right. Tell me about your last 3 positions. Explain what you did and how you did it. And describe the people you worked for and the people you worked with. It's designed to see how you organize a lot of information quickly, to flesh out the resume details, and maybe catch inconsistencies. It creates a roadmap for them.
So what makes for a green light response here?
Brief, coherent, positive summaries, highlighting pertinent experience and skills. You must be highly cognizant of relating your experience directly back to the requirements of the job you're interviewing for now. That's key. They're also looking for a clear upward pattern in your career. Growing responsibility, authority, maybe managing more money or people, increasing skill levels over time.
And the red lights, what tanks your answer?
Asking, what exactly do you want to know? Big red flag. Any inconsistencies with your resume, different dates, duties, titles, or suddenly mentioning jobs not on your resume, that's a huge problem.
Honesty is critical.
Absolutely. Also, complaining about past bosses, subordinates, or coworkers. Interviewers see this as you potentially being difficult or unable to take responsibility. You'll just complain about them next. And unexplained lateral moves or demotions, those need a very good positive explanation.
Okay. How about what was your favorite job? Why? Seems simple, but is it tricky?
It can be. What they ultimately want to hear is a description that sounds a lot like this job, the one you're applying for.
So align your answer.
Exactly. If your actual favorite job was quite different, a green light approach is to explain why it was your favorite then, but then articulate how you've changed or what you've learned so that the current job is actually more appropriate and appealing for you now.
What's a red light here?
Inadvertently revealing you're actually seeking a completely different kind of job that clashes with the current opening. For example, saying your favorite job was very loose and informal, little supervision, only 20 hours a week, lots of freedom, when the job you're applying for is known to be highly structured, demanding, high pressure. It just shows you haven't done your research or don't understand the role.
Makes sense. Now, the loaded one. Tell me about the best, worst boss you ever had. How to handle this minefield.
Tread very carefully. For the best boss, it's easier. Describe someone genuinely interested in your growth, who monitored progress fairly, was generous with credit. Hopefully you've had one.
Hopefully, and the worst boss.
This is the real landmine, a dangerous spot. Do not get carried away with venom or negativity. Accusations of favoritism, micromanagement, whatever. They might just make the interviewer wonder about your competence or trustworthiness. Why couldn't you handle it?
So the strategy.
Accentuate your own experiences, accomplishments, and qualities. Frame the supervisor's perceived failures in a way that reflects positively on you. For instance, describing a boss as stingy with knowledge implies your strong desire to learn. Calling them uninvolved implies your desire for a cohesive team environment. See the spin.
Clever. Turn it around.
Exactly. Any overt negativity or blaming the boss for your failures is a definite red light.
And the natural follow-up to that is often.
Looking back now, is there anything you could have done to improve your relationship with that supervisor?
The lifesaver question.
It really is. It gives you a chance to redeem the situation and show maturity. A green light answer is always, of course there is. Then explain how you learned something, maybe how you learned to accept criticism better, or how you now understand the pressures supervisors face and can better anticipate their needs. Shows experience, perceptiveness, maturity.
And the red light.
Obvious. Saying something like, nah, not with that dumb so-and-so, never go there.
Right.
Okay, accomplishments. What were the most memorable accomplishments at your last job? In your career?
Focus on recent, relevant accomplishments. Things that align with the new role. And importantly, explain why you achieved them. What was your thought process? For example, I stopped to really listen to customer feedback and realized they needed X. Or, I proactively enrolled in a tax seminar to understand the new regulations affecting our clients. It shows self-assessment and strategic thinking.
What to avoid?
Bragging about totally irrelevant accomplishments. Or citing things that are frivolous, meaningless, or dubious like, I managed to get out of bed on time every day, or I won $25 for the local fire department raffle. Keep it professional and impactful.
Okay, now the big one, the failure question. What is the biggest failure you've had in your career? What steps have you taken to make sure something like that doesn't happen again? This makes people squirm.
It does. But remember, this is not a confessional. Don't spill your guts about every mistake you've ever made, but also don't pretend you're perfect. Nobody is.
So, the best approach. Admit one specific failure. Choose a good one, meaning one you genuinely learned a significant lesson from. And then talk in detail about the concrete steps you've taken to prevent it from happening again.
What kind of failure is good to choose?
Ideally, choose a deficiency that could actually be seen as a plus in a different light now. For example, a past tendency to take on too much work can be reframed as having learned the importance of delegation and teamwork. Impatience with delay can be framed as now having a better understanding of process complexities and planning.
Or maybe something from early in your career.
Yes, choosing a failure from early in your career or one entirely unrelated to the core functions of the new job is often safest. Absolutely never admit to a personal quality that inherently hampers job performance, like chronic procrastination, laziness, or a hot temper.
What's a green light response look like?
Acknowledge a failure, maybe one where you weren't fully responsible, but you take all the blame yourself to show ownership. Provide concrete examples of the lessons learned and the positive changes you've implemented since. Red light. Claiming you've never failed. Citing a non-work-related failure. My biggest failure was my first marriage. Showing no evidence of taking responsibility or changing your behavior, saying, it can never happen again. That sounds unrealistic. And admitting a huge work-related weakness like, I just hated all my bosses. Definite no.
Okay. For supervisory roles, they'll ask about management experience, right? Have you managed people in any of the positions you've held?
Almost certainly. It's crucial. A green light is answering positively. Even if you haven't had direct reports, you can often substitute leadership for management. Give examples of leading projects, mentoring junior colleagues, coordinating team efforts. Provide specifics. Number of people supervised, even indirectly, in what capacities. Show you appreciate that different employees require different management and motivation styles.
Red light.
Having zero management or leadership experience for a management job is a red flag, though not always an automatic deal breaker if you show potential. Expressing negative sentiments about managing people, they were all overpaid do-nothings, is terrible, or underestimating the requirements and challenges of management.
Another potential landmine. Tell me about the types of people you have trouble getting along with.
Ooh, yes. Be careful. Avoid describing personality types that might fit the interviewer or be common in that company culture, like saying pushy, abrasive people if the interviewer is pushy and abrasive.
So what do you say?
A possible green light answer frames it around performance standards. Something like, well, I'm naturally impatient with slow performers because I expect everyone on the team to strive for excellence. So I guess I do sometimes have trouble with mediocre or poor workers initially. I don't expect I'll ever accept poor work, but I'm definitely learning to be more patient and supportive in how I guide people towards improvement. Shows self-analysis, links it to high standards, acceptable weakness, and indicates you're working on it.
And a red light.
A general, vague answer, or one that shows a lack of self-awareness about your own interpersonal dynamics or triggers.
Okay, moving to more business-focused questions. Who do you think are our 2 or 3 or 5 major competitors? Test of research.
Big time. This question instantly reveals the depth of your pre-interview research. It shows you're a serious candidate who bothered to understand their market landscape.
Strategy.
Discuss the company's place in the industry, its products, strengths, weaknesses versus the competition. Maybe comment on the overall health of the industry. A green light is any answer demonstrating research. A detailed answer showing breadth is even better. Referencing specific trade magazines, industry reports, or even something the interviewer themselves wrote or said publicly. That's a very strong play.
Red light is obvious.
Yep. Hemming and hawing, clearly having no idea. That's a serious black mark. Shows lack of preparation and interest.
Okay. How about general business style questions? Like, are you an organized person?
Don't just say yes. Detail your organizational skills: time management, project management, needs assessment, delegation. Give brief examples of how you use systems, calendars, lists, project software effectively. Avoid extremes. Don't sound anal or attentive, but don't sound disorganized either.
Do you manage your time well?
Yes. Explain you're a self-starter. Rarely procrastinate. Mention setting goals, prioritizing tasks. Use specifics. I rarely miss a deadline. I use a detailed to-do list prioritized daily. I block out specific time slots for focused work on key projects.
How do you go about making important decisions?
Try to match your answer to the likely company culture. Are they data-driven and analytical? Or do they value experience and gut instinct more? Generally, describe yourself as analytical, creative, but also willing to call on others for advice or input. For management roles, add, I always seek advice from my team and relevant experts, but ultimately I'm the one who makes the final decision and takes responsibility for it. Be ready for follow-ups about your process.
Do you work well under pressure?
Yes, absolutely. Provide specific, concise examples of successfully handling tight deadlines, unexpected crises, or challenging circumstances. Just make sure the pressure wasn't self-inflicted due to your own procrastination.
Good point. Do you anticipate problems well or merely react to them?
The best managers anticipate. Give examples of how you proactively identified potential issues, market shifts, resource constraints, project risks, and took steps to protect yourself or the company from negative outcomes. Show foresight.
Any regrets, professionally speaking?
Acknowledge maybe a few minor ones, but frame them to show learning and growth. The classic line, few, but then again too few to mention, can work if delivered lightly. Or, my only regret is perhaps not moving into this specific field sooner, as I find it so engaging. Turns it positive.
Do you prefer to work by yourself or with others?
Your answer should align with the demands of the specific job role. Most jobs require a mix. Acknowledge the need to collaborate effectively with various people. You might give an example of successfully working with a quirky but essential production department, or building bridges with a difficult colleague.
How do you generally handle conflict?
Say you don't get angry often, and you prefer to work things out amicably or, ideally, anticipate and prevent problems before they escalate into conflict. Explain that you don't back down from important issues or principles, but you always strive to be reasonable, listen to the other side, and find mutually acceptable solutions.
What if the problem is with a coworker? How do you behave when you have a problem with a coworker?
Describe a direct, professional approach focused on the issue, not the person. Avoid gossip or going straight to the boss. Focus on problem solving. You could use an anecdote. I once had an issue with an obstinate designer, but by sitting down, calmly explaining my needs and listening to their constraints, we found a great solution and actually became good collaborators after that.
How do you motivate people?
Yeah.
For managers?
Start by saying, well, it really depends on the person. Show you understand that different people respond to different motivators: recognition, autonomy, challenge, support, etc. Then, offer concrete examples of how you've successfully motivated various team members with tailored approaches. Avoid a one-size-fits-all answer.
Okay, what about addressing gaps or patterns in job history? Like, you've changed jobs quite frequently. How do we know you'll stick around?
Yeah, companies get nervous about perceived job hoppers. Your core strategy here is to convince them that this specific position is your career's promised land, the role you've genuinely been seeking, the culmination of your previous moves.
Example.
Our source mentions Sherry. She explained her logical progression programmer to applications analyst, hitting a glass ceiling, now seeking management. She framed her constant love of learning as the driver, positioning this job as the perfect place to apply everything she'd learned and finally settle in.
And the flip side, you've been with the same organization for 10 years. Won't you have a tough time getting used to a new culture, company, atmosphere, team?
Right. Sometimes long tenure makes them worry about lack of initiative or adaptability. Can feel like lose-lose sometimes.
So how do you fight back?
Highlight your flexibility and your loyalty. Explain how, within that single company, you actually work for multiple bosses, maybe in different departments, supervise different kinds of people, teamed up with various coworkers on diverse projects. Show you've observed different organizational behaviors and adapted successfully to various internal cultures and changes within that one organization. Frame loyalty as a strength.
Got it. Any final general tips for answering all these work-related questions?
Always be positive about reasons for leaving past jobs. Frame it as seeking more, responsibility, challenge, opportunity, money. If fired, stress what you learned and how you grew. Quantify your achievements and confidence whenever possible. Employees supervised, budget managed, revenue generated. Never speak badly of past employers, bosses, or colleagues. Make this job seem like your primary objective, not just a stepping stone or a safe haven. And use those powerful action words we talked about: achieved, analyzed, created, developed, implemented, led, managed, solved, etc., to make your answers dynamic and impactful. For our English learning listeners, really practice using these action verbs in your example stories. It significantly boosts perceived fluency and impact.
Okay, let's move into some potentially even trickier territory: career transitions and sensitive situations. First up, that key question. Why are you thinking of leaving your current job?
Right. And let's be real. Nobody leaves a job they're completely happy with. But the absolute crucial thing here is do not appear negative or speak badly about your current employer, boss, or colleagues.
Why not?
Because the interviewer will immediately assume you'll just do the same thing to them if they hire you, and things get tough later. It reflects poorly on your professionalism and loyalty.
So the strategy.
Use visioning. Imagine and articulate your ideal next step and explain how this job aligns perfectly with that vision. Frame it positively. For example, my potential for growth in this specific area of X is somewhat limited at my current company, mainly due to its size and strategic plan. I'm really eager for broader challenges and opportunities in that area, which this role seems to offer.
So focus on the pull towards the new, not the push from the old.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A green light answer emphasizes seeking more responsibility, a bigger challenge. Growth, even more money, is acceptable if framed right, but not desperation to simply escape. Emphasize moving up or toward something better, not just out. Avoid any personal attacks or overly negative comments about your current situation.
Red light is any negativity.
Any negativity. Also, showing willingness to make a lateral move or even take a demotion just to leave that makes them wonder what you're hiding or running from. And obviously, fantasizing out loud about getting revenge on your current boss is a definite no-go.
Okay, how about this slightly awkward one? Where does your boss think you are now, assuming you're still employed?
Yeah, this can feel intrusive. Your strategy should be to have scheduled the interview during your lunch break, after work hours, or by using a personal or vacation day.
What should you not say?
Never say you called in sick. That shows dishonesty and lack of integrity right away. Just be truthful but professional about taking personal time off. A red light here is obviously lying, or even just body language that indicates discomfort or deception. It also shows little loyalty to your current employer if you seem cavalier about deceiving them.
All right, a really tough one for many people. Have you been laid off or fired? How do you handle this?
First, recognize that in today's economy, mass layoffs are unfortunately common. There's usually no shame attached to being laid off due to restructuring, downsizing, or economic downturns. Be straightforward about it.
And if you were actually fired for cause?
This is tougher, but honesty is still the best policy, combined with showing you've learned from it. The key is to come clean quickly and smoothly. Turn this potential negative into a positive.
Can you give an example?
Our source mentioned Nick, who was fired for blowing up at his boss in a meeting. He admitted it directly. Look, I didn't handle that situation well at all. He then explained what he learned, the importance of understanding sales controls, maybe interpreting demands differently, managing his reactions under pressure. He finished strongly. I absolutely learned my lesson, and I'm a far more composed and effective professional today because of that experience.
So focus on the learning.
Exactly. A green light is talking less about the termination itself and more about what you learned, how you grew, and the changes you've made since. If laid off, simply state the facts. I was one of 16 people laid off when the company decided to close our division due to a shift in strategy. Keep it factual and neutral.
Red light.
Any negativity, blaming others entirely. And if you were fired for a serious cause like stealing, drinking on the job, hitting someone trying to hide it, or not admitting responsibility is a huge red flag. The truth often comes out in background checks anyway. For our English learning listeners, having a concise practice sentence ready for this, focusing on the learning aspect, can be extremely helpful to manage nerves and deliver a clear, positive message.
Okay. How about questions designed to verify your resume? Like, describe the way your department is organized. Also, what is the title of the person to whom you report? What are his or her exact responsibilities?
Yes, these are designed to clarify what you really do day to day and get you any exaggerations on your resume or in previous answers. They might even ask you to sketch out a quick organizational chart on paper.
What's a green light response?
Your description of duties and responsibilities matches your resume accurately and seems commensurate with the level of the new job you're seeking. Your explanation should be consistent with things you've said earlier. The structure you describe should sound logical. Be aware. A good interviewer will take notes and might even verify some of this with your supervisor if they check references.
Red light.
A hazy, confused explanation. Glaring inconsistencies with your resume or previous statements, suddenly failing to mention key duties you claimed earlier, or describing an organizational plan that just sounds illogical or dysfunctional.
Similarly, tell me about your typical day at your current last job. How much time do you spend on the phone, in meetings, in one-on-one chats, working by yourself, working with your team or others?
The purpose here is the same, getting specific details to back up your earlier general statements about responsibilities and duties. It checks for disingenuousness. Savvy interviewers often mentally file these details away and might come back to them later to probe further or check for consistency.
Variations might be.
Asking about your first or last hour of the day, what tasks you typically delegate, your average hours worked per week, or what you consider the single most important part of your job. Be ready for these detailed probes.
Okay. How long have you been looking for a job?
Unless you've been laid off or fired, in which case be honest about the time frame. The generally recommended green light answer is something like, I've just started looking seriously quite recently.
What if you have been looking for a while?
Be prepared to explain why no offers have materialized yet without sounding desperate or undesirable. A good angle is framing yourself as being choosy about finding the right long-term fit, a role that truly aligns with my career goals and values. It positions you as discerning, not unwanted. Be aware, though, that some interviewers wrongly, in our view, might still presume a longer search means you're less desirable.
Which often leads directly to, why haven't you received any offers so far?
Strategy is the same. You're just as choosy as they are about finding the perfect match. Don't whine, don't make excuses, don't sound defensive. If you do happen to have other offers currently, you could discreetly mention being selective, perhaps to create a little urgency. But handle this carefully. Don't reveal too many details unless it serves a clear strategic purpose.
What about if you don't leave your current job, what will happen there? How far do you expect to advance?
This question tries to gauge your level of desperation versus genuine interest in their role. Your goal is to convince them you're a proactive employee who makes the most of any situation, but that this new role represents a significantly better opportunity.
So, how to phrase that?
You could say you'd likely still advance and be given more responsibility, but perhaps at a slower pace than my skills warrant, or without adequate compensation growth. Or you could mention external factors limiting growth at your current company. Maybe it's being acquired, facing bankruptcy, or simply can't retain top people due to its structure. Sounding desperate, like, oh, old scrawny knows your boss will probably fire me soon anyway. Or blaming all the company's problems on others without taking any ownership or showing how you tried to make things better.
Okay, here's a clever trap. If you have these complaints about your current job boss company and they think so highly of you, why haven't you brought your concerns to their attention? They're trying to catch you in a contradiction.
Exactly. Trying to hoist you by your own petard. Use your own words against you. The strategy is to remain positive and emphasize transparency, but frame the limitations constructively.
Right.
Actually, my boss is well aware of my desire to move into a role with more strategic responsibility. Unfortunately, given the company's current size and focus, those opportunities just aren't available right now. It's not a secret. Or, our management team is terrific and we do talk openly about challenges. My decision to explore new roles is purely about seeking a different type of challenge and growth opportunity that aligns better with my long-term goals. It shows you're not just complaining behind their back.
Good pivot. How would your coworkers describe you?
Aim for words that convey teamwork and ease to work with. I think they'd say I'm an easygoing person who is a good team player. Maybe add a phrase like, I strongly believe a lot more can be accomplished when people gang up on a problem rather than on each other. Then sprinkle in some positive adjectives from your personal inventory. Reliable, supportive, knowledgeable, dedicated.
They might circle back to accomplishments. Give me specific examples of what you did at your current last job to increase revenues, reduce costs, be more efficient, save effort, etc.
Yes, this relates back to earlier questions about budget responsibility and organizational structure. Interviewers often return to this topic after discussing other things, sometimes hoping to catch inconsistencies or get more detail. Be ready with those specific, quantified examples from your dossier. Numbers talk.
Okay, a philosophical one. What do you feel an employer owes an employee? Is this about benefits?
Definitely not an invitation to list your desired benefits package. It's a loaded question, often designed to see if you have an entitlement mentality.
So how to answer?
Refocus on your positive outlook and professional values. Say an employer owes opportunity, the chance to learn, grow, contribute meaningfully, and be challenged. Add perhaps respectful treatment of me as an employee and, of course, adherence to any agreements we negotiate regarding compensation and responsibilities. You can even add, I also understand that organizations sometimes face tough decisions, and that's just part of business. Shows maturity.
Okay, ethical dilemmas. Your supervisor tells you to do something in a way you know is dead wrong. What do you do?
This is a tough question. Acknowledge that. The recommended strategy. First, I would try to understand their reasoning. Then, I would pose my alternative solution and explain my concerns about their approach in the most deferential and professional way possible, focusing on the potential negative outcomes of their method and the benefits of mine. If, after that discussion, my supervisor insisted I do it their way and it wasn't illegal or wildly unethical, I guess I'd have to follow their direction while perhaps documenting my concerns privately. Shows respect for authority, but also critical thinking and willingness to speak up appropriately.
How about if you were unfairly criticized by your supervisor, what would you do?
First, Acknowledge that misunderstandings and unfair criticism can happen. Focus on how you deal with it constructively. Strategy. Well, a problem is a problem no matter who creates it. The most important thing is to deal with the issue itself first. If the criticism was significant and truly unfair, once the immediate situation was resolved and the atmosphere had calmed down, I would likely seek a private conversation with my supervisor to calmly explain my point of view and understand their perspective better. Shows professionalism and focus on resolution.
Would you like to have your boss's job? Why or why not? Reveals ambition?
Yes, it definitely probes ambition. You need to know the corporate culture, the real advancement possibilities, and your honest feelings. Saying yes usually signals ambition. Saying no might imply doubts about that specific job's fit for you, which is okay.
Green light examples.
In time, yes. I'm particularly interested in the vendor relationship and sales promotion aspects of that role, which I'd love to develop further. Or maybe, while I'm always open to taking on additional responsibilities, I really enjoy the hands-on autonomy and client contact in my current sales position, and I think I would miss that direct interaction if I moved into that specific management role. Tailor it honestly.
Finally, those situational questions, if I asked you to, or our sales are down, what would you do?
Remember, what they want most is to see your thought process. They want questions from you first, then a logical approach.
Tips for shining here.
It's okay to admit momentary nervousness, or say, that's a complex situation. Let me take a moment to think. It shows you won't just plunge in blindly. Take that moment to weigh alternatives. Avoid throwing the bull, exaggerating your expertise or bluffing. Show a grasp of the real world by admitting you'd need to learn more about their specific company context, resources, and history before giving a definitive plan. Have a general strategy ready for how you approach problem solving and how you'd find the information or resources you lack within their organization.
Okay, we're getting close to the end of the typical interview flow. You're nearing the finish line, but these final stages are absolutely critical for sealing the deal. Let's talk about questions focusing on why you want to work there. Like, do you know much about our company?
Right. And the answer to this should never be no, or even just a little bit. So many candidates treat this as just another icebreaker and completely miss a golden opportunity to impress.
This is where the research pays off again.
Big time. This is your chance to show you've done your homework. The strategy. Toss out a few salient, meaning relevant and important, and positive facts you learned about them. Then immediately lob a question back that demonstrates your specific interest and connects to the role.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Something like, yes, absolutely. What a growth story your company has had. Didn't I read recently that you've achieved 7 straight years of double-digit growth? That's incredibly impressive. I was also reading about your new product line in the X division. Can you tell me a bit more about that division and how this particular position contributes to its success?
Nice. Shows research and targeted interest.
Exactly. A green light answer clearly demonstrates thorough pre-interview research, mentioning things from their website, annual report, recent news articles, trade magazines, even mentioning the interviewer's name if you found an article or presentation they did. That's a power move. For our English learning listeners, this is another excellent place to showcase your reading comprehension, your vocabulary related to their industry, demonstrating dedication beyond just basic conversation.
Okay. Then comes that moment many candidates dread, but which is actually your turn. Do you have any questions for me?
And again, the answer is never no. Seriously, saying you have no questions often signals disinterest, which could be the kiss of death for your candidacy. This is your crucial chance not only to impress them further, but also to determine if this job is truly the right fit for you.
So you absolutely must have questions prepared. What kind are good to ask, both for your benefit and to impress them?
Always have a few smart questions ready. Good ones include, can you give me a formal written job description for this position? Especially useful if you're talking to an HR screener first, helps you prep for the hiring manager. Or, does this job typically lead to other positions within the company? If so, which ones? Helps you suss out if it's a potential dead-end role, but phrase it carefully so you don't sound like you're already planning your exit. Ask, could you tell me more about the specific skills or attributes you believe are most crucial for success in this particular role? This helps you tailor your final comments to emphasize those very traits. Also, could you tell me a little bit about the people I'd be working most closely with on the team? Listen to the manager's enthusiasm, or lack thereof. When they describe their team, it tells you a lot about the culture.
I like this next one. What do you personally like best about working for this company? Why?
Yeah, that's a great one. It gauges the interviewer's genuine enthusiasm and can reveal key company values or pain points. If they struggle to answer or sound unenthusiastic, that's very telling. You could also ask, what is the company's current ranking or position within the industry? Does this role represent a change from where the company was a few years ago, or is it perhaps a newly created position? Flaunts your research and strategic thinking.
What should you absolutely avoid asking about at this stage?
Definitely avoid asking about days off, vacation time, holidays, sick pay policies, or personal days. It makes it sound like you're already focused on getting out of the office before you've even gotten in. That's a major red flag for most employers. Keep your questions focused on the role, the team, the company's challenges and future, and how you can contribute to their success.
Okay. How about when they turn it back on you? What interests you most about this position or about our company?
Tailor your answer specifically to this job and this company's mission or recent work. Don't give a generic answer.
What should the focus be?
Focus on things like seeking more responsibility, greater opportunities to make an impact, the chance to supervise or mentor, the opportunity to develop new skills or sharpen existing ones, and maybe, if they press on salary later, more compensation. But lead with the growth and contribution aspects. Demonstrate specific knowledge of the company and how you can uniquely contribute. Something like, I've been following your work in sustainable packaging and I'm really excited by the prospect of applying my material science background to that challenge, is way better than.
It's a shorter commute.
Exactly. Better commute is a definite red light. Shows lack of real interest in the work itself.
What if they ask the opposite? What have you heard about our company that you don't like? Sounds like a trap.
It can feel like one. It's tricky. Your strategy should be to minimize any negative if you mention one at all. If you must, ask about very minor, potentially fixable issues you might have gleaned from research maybe. I noticed from some online reviews that there were mentions of older software systems. Is the company planning upgrades? Or inquire about profit predictability if they're in a known volatile market. Do not bring up a huge negative you heard through the grapevine like, I heard morale is terrible here.
Okay. How about questions about company size? This is a much larger or smaller company than you've worked for. How do you feel about that?
If it's a larger company, focus on the positives. I'm really looking forward to the terrific growth opportunities, the structured training programs, and the exposure to more diverse areas of knowledge and larger scale projects that a company of this size offers.
And if it's smaller,
Frame it as, I'm excited about the prospect of working in a far less bureaucratic organization where decisions can be made more quickly, and I can get broader exposure and familiarity with the workings of the entire company and have a more direct impact. Shows adaptability either way.
what are you looking for in your next job?
Tailor this answer directly to this job. Don't just rehash the job description they gave you. Focus on the key skills you want to utilize and develop further. Express genuine enthusiasm for your field and explain specifically how this role fits perfectly into your professional passion and development goals.
And the least appealing aspects. What aspect of the job I've described appeals to you least?
Our source suggests a clever tactic here. Shoot the question right back at the interviewer. Politely pivot. For example, you mentioned the role requires generating reports under very tight deadlines. That sounds challenging. Could you tell me more about the quality control procedures or support systems in place to ensure accuracy under that pressure? This can subtly reveal potential issues for both sides and shows critical thinking, not just negativity.
Based on what you know about our industry, how does your ideal job stack up against the description of the job for which you're applying?
Describe your ideal job in terms that emphasize growth and learning, maybe involving a broad scope of responsibilities, allowing you to learn more about the industry, enhance skills. If there is a minor shortcoming in the current role compared to your ideal, acknowledge it briefly, then ask careful questions about unknown aspects to show you're still very interested but thinking realistically.
How will you handle the least interesting or most unpleasant parts of this job? Every job has them.
Acknowledge that routine tasks are part of any job and must be done diligently. Frame it positively. Doing those necessary tasks well is part of the satisfaction of doing the overall job well. You could even add that getting through the routine parts makes the more creative or engaging parts even more satisfying, shows a mature work ethic.
Finally, addressing perceived skill gaps. You've had little experience with budgeting or sales or whatever skill. How do you intend to learn what you need to know to perform on this job?
Strategy. Emphasize being a quick study and highlight your ability and willingness to self-learn proactively. Provide a concrete example from your past. When my previous company computerized its inventory system, which was totally new to me, I studied the tutorials diligently and practiced on my own time until I was fully proficient. I'm confident I can learn the needed skill just as quickly here. Shows initiative and adaptability.
Okay, so lots of questions focused on them. What about summarizing your value again at the end? How to toot your own horn without sounding like a blowhard?
It's a balance. Don't get carried away with excessive self-praise. Instead, strategically reiterate the core traits companies look for. Enthusiasm, confidence, energy, dependability, honesty, problem-solving ability, teamwork, strong work ethic.
Use examples.
Be creative with your examples. Maybe talk about working through college and the skills that taught you. Always shape your responses to this specific position. Relate your accomplishments, skills, and experience directly to their needs, wants, and goals. Think what and why. Stress the positive lessons learned and how you've applied them.
And definitely don't exaggerate.
Never exaggerate. The truth almost always comes out. Don't appear desperate. Even if you are, project genuine interest and confidence in your value. Avoid all negativity. Associate only positive words, thoughts, deeds with yourself. Frame your current position as positively as possible. And keep building that vocabulary of strong action words. They make a huge difference in impact.
Okay, let's shift gears now to talk about questions that might seem innocent, maybe even just small talk, but can actually be problematic. The key takeaway seems to be there's really no such thing as a truly throwaway question in an interview setting.
That's absolutely right. You are effectively being judged and evaluated from the moment the interviewer lays eyes on you or hears your voice on the phone, right up until a job offer is potentially extended.
And some questions are designed to lower your guard.
Exactly. They might be used as icebreakers, but they can quickly ice-pick your chances, meaning severely damage your prospects if you're not careful. Take the simplest one. How are you today?
Seems harmless.
It does, but always respond positively and professionally. I'm doing great, thank you. Excited to be here. Never complain about the weather, the traffic, trouble finding the office, or feeling tired. Even questions like, did you have any trouble finding us? Are a subtle test of your attitude and problem solving under minor stress. Keep it positive.
Okay. What about things like, what's the last book you read?
What you read speaks volumes about your interests, your intellectual curiosity. Many interviewers, fairly or unfairly, tend to prefer candidates who read nonfiction. It suggests an interest in learning about the real world over purely recreational fiction, which some see as just escapism.
So, safer to mention nonfiction.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
Opting for popular, well-regarded business or motivational books like The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or something relevant to their industry can show your commitment to professional development and continuous learning.
How about what's the last movie you saw?
Similar principle. Mention something popular, but generally uncontroversial. Avoid anything potentially X-rated, overly violent, or politically divisive. A Tom Hanks movie like Forrest Gump is often cited as a safe bet. Your taste in obscure foreign films or niche documentaries, while perfectly valid, probably shouldn't be the thing that stands between you and a job offer. Keep it neutral if you're unsure.
And there are variations on these, right?
Oh, yeah. Things like, if you could have dinner with any 3 people, living or dead, who would they be? Or, if you were stranded on a desert island, what 1 book would you bring? Also, who's your favorite author, actor, TV show? What magazines do you read regularly? Where do you typically get your news? The strategy's the same. Be prepared to give positive, relatively neutral answers that showcase thoughtful, well-rounded interests without raising any red flags.
Okay, now let's get into a more serious area. Discrimination. Questions that might cross the line legally.
Right. In an ideal world, everyone would be judged solely on their skills, experience, and ability to do the job, period. But unfortunately, in the real world, discrimination based on factors like race, color, religion, disability, age, gender, national origin can still happen, sometimes subtly, sometimes overtly.
What are your rights here?
It's crucial to know. You are not legally obliged to answer questions about your race, nationality, religion, marital status, financial status, age, or disability if that information is not directly relevant to your ability to perform the essential functions of the job.
But the line can be blurry. Illegal versus inappropriate.
It can be. Simply asking a potentially inappropriate question isn't illegal in itself in most places. However, if an employer makes a hiring decision based on the answer to such a question, that's where they open themselves up to a discrimination lawsuit if a qualified candidate is passed over. Because of this risk, many large employers tread lightly. They're very careful with their questioning.
But subtle techniques might still exist.
Yes. Interviewers might try to get you to volunteer sensitive information indirectly. You need to be aware of when a question feels off or inappropriate. A good test to ask yourself, does this question really relate to my ability to perform this specific job? You can also check the resources from the EEOC or your state's Fair Employment Practices Commission for guidance on illegal inquiries in your location.
Okay, let's run through some common, potentially inappropriate or illegal questions. How old are you?
Definitely loaded, especially for older candidates, due to age discrimination concerns. They might worry about energy levels, health, or being overqualified. Don't confirm your exact age if you're uncomfortable. Instead, pivot to the benefits of your experience and continued vitality. You could say something like, I find that the more experience I've gained, the more efficient and effective I've become. I can accomplish more now in less time than ever before, and I have plenty of energy for demanding roles.
How about personal life questions? Are you single, married, separated, divorced? Do you have children?
Big red flag area. Do not feel obligated to whip out family photos or volunteer details about your personal life. Interviewers might illicitly worry about your commitment, potential upcoming wedding plans taking time off, or childcare responsibilities interfering with work. You are not obliged to reveal this information.
But questions about travel or overtime are legal.
Yes, that's an important distinction. Questions about your willingness to relocate, travel extensively for the job, or work overtime are generally legal if they are asked consistently of all candidates for that role, because those factors can relate directly to job performance. Even if the interviewer's underlying motive might be related to assumptions about family obligations, the question itself, if job-related and asked fairly, is usually permissible.
What if they keep probing about kids or family trying to get at commitment?
Our source suggests a tactic called meeting the interviewer halfway. This means you address the underlying concern you think they have without directly answering the inappropriate question itself. If they keep asking about childcare, you could say, I sense you might be concerned about my ability to be here consistently or my commitment to the demands of the role. I want to assure you that I have always been an extremely reliable and dedicated employee who is fully committed to getting the job done effectively and on time. My personal responsibilities have never interfered with my professional performance. It shifts the focus back to your professional track record.
Good technique. What about what's your nationality? Or asking about ancestry?
Do not volunteer this information over the phone, and never put a photo on your resume before an offer. If asked directly in an interview, you can politely state its irrelevance. I'm not sure I see how my ancestry or national origin relates to my qualifications for this job, but I can assure you I am fully authorized to work legally in the United States. Confirmation of work authorization, like seeing a passport, green card, or birth certificate plus social security card, is legal and often required, but only after a job offer has been extended.
But asking about language skills is okay.
Yes, asking about language proficiency is legal if fluency in a particular language is a genuine bona fide requirement for performing the job duties.
Okay. What's your sexual orientation?
A simple, polite, but firm boundary is needed. I'm sorry, but I don't discuss my private life in a professional context.
And religious questions. Are you Jewish, Christian, Buddhist, etc.?
Employers cannot legally ask for specific religious information or affiliation. A good response. I prefer to keep my personal religious beliefs separate from my professional work. If they continue to press you on this, you should seriously question whether you want to work for that supervisor or within that company culture.
What about health issues like HIV/AIDS or other disabilities?
Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, conditions like HIV/AIDS are considered disabilities. You do not have to disclose this information during the interview process. An employer cannot legally withdraw a job offer based on a disability unless it demonstrably affects your ability to perform the essential functions of that specific job, potentially with reasonable accommodation.
When asked, what organizations do you belong to?
Only mention professional societies, industry groups, or alumni associations that are directly relevant to the job or your field. Avoid mentioning any clubs, charities, or political groups that might inadvertently provide clues about your race, religion, gender, disability, or political affiliation unless you are comfortable doing so and see a strategic benefit.
Have you ever gone bankrupt?
Generally, interviewers are only entitled to discuss your current earnings or salary expectations for this role. Your past personal assets, liabilities, debts, or credit rating are usually not fair game unless you're applying for specific roles, like in finance or roles with significant fiduciary responsibility, where laws permit such inquiries as part of a background check.
What was your record in the military?
You can certainly volunteer relevant skills, training, or leadership experiences gained during your service. However, you are generally not required to provide specific dates of service or disclose the type of discharge you received, for e.g. honorable, general, unless it relates to a specific conviction relevant to the job requirements, like security clearance roles.
How about, have you ever been arrested?
This is a tricky area, and laws vary by state. Generally, employers are not entitled to ask about arrests that did not result in a conviction. Even asking about convictions can be restricted. For example, only felonies or only convictions relevant to the job duties in many states. It's wise to research your specific state's ban-the-box laws and regulations regarding criminal background checks. Never lie, but know what they are and aren't allowed to ask.
So, summarizing what to do if asked these potentially inappropriate or illegal questions.
You have a few options, depending on the situation and your comfort level. 1, you can answer directly if it seems like harmless curiosity from an unskilled interviewer and the information isn't overly sensitive to you. 2, you can use that meet them halfway technique. Answer the underlying concern you think they have, like about commitment, without answering the specific inappropriate question. 3, you could tactfully point out the question is inappropriate, perhaps by saying, "I'm not sure how that relates to the job requirements." This subtly warns them they're on thin legal ice. 4, if they refuse to back off and continue pressing inappropriately, you always have the option to politely end the interview.
And if you feel you were discriminated against.
The burden of proof, unfortunately, is often on you. Keep detailed notes of the questions asked and the context. You can contact the Federal Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, or your state's Fair Employment Agency to file a complaint. It's also wise to seek legal advice from an attorney specializing in employment law.
Okay, final tips for fending off these questions.
Know your rights, research federal and state laws. Don't open the door by volunteering sensitive information unnecessarily. Try to gracefully change the subject if possible. Give them the benefit of the doubt initially. Maybe they're just inexperienced. Subtly warn the interviewer if they persist with inappropriate lines. And finally, if it becomes clear their questioning reflects a discriminatory attitude or culture you're uncomfortable with, be prepared to end the interview yourself. You're interviewing them too.
Okay, we've navigated the minefield of potentially inappropriate questions. Now we're really in the final act of the interview. These are the closing questions, the logistics, the follow-up. First, the common one. Are you willing to travel?
If travel is part of the job, the expected green line answer is an enthusiastic, "Yes, of course I am." You can add context if needed, like, "My family understands the demands of my career, and I'm comfortable with the level of travel described."
What's a red light?
Being unwilling to travel at all, if it's a known requirement. Why are you even there interviewing? Also, if the travel requirement comes as a complete shock, it suggests you didn't do your research on the role thoroughly.
Similar question. Are you willing to relocate?
If you genuinely are, the green light is absolutely. I'd actually look forward to the chance to live elsewhere and experience a new community.
And if you're not willing or hesitant?
Be polite but clear. A red light is being cagey, but you could say something like, "Relocation isn't my first preference right now, but for a truly exceptional opportunity like this one appears to be, I would certainly give it serious consideration." It would depend on the overall package and discussing it further. Shows continued interest, but sets a boundary.
Okay, the reference checks. May I contact your current employer? This makes people nervous.
Understandably so, if you haven't told your boss you're looking. The professional green light response is, "Yes, certainly, after we've reached a mutual agreement on a potential offer. I believe it's best practice for them to hear about my potential departure from me first to ensure a smooth and professional transition."
Buys you time and control.
Exactly. And similarly, may I contact your references?
How to handle this one?
Green light. Of course you can. I had a list prepared, and I'll send it over to you this afternoon or tomorrow morning.
Why the slight delay?
It's standard procedure. It gives you a crucial window to contact your references personally. Let them know to expect a call from this specific company, remind them of the job you're applying for, and briefly highlight the key qualifications you'd like them to emphasize. Prep your references.
Good point. And remember, employers are sometimes hesitant to give detailed references now.
Yes. Due to fear of defamation claims, many companies have policies limiting references to just confirming dates of employment and title. That's why proactively working out a more detailed narrative job reference with trusted former employers or colleagues beforehand can be incredibly valuable.
Okay, the big closing opportunity. Is there anything else about you I should know?
Yes. Absolutely
Yeah.
yes. Never say no to this. This is your final chance to summarize your value and close the sale.
What's the strategy?
Have a short, powerful closing statement prepared. Play on your key strengths, relevant accomplishments, specific skills, and deep knowledge, linking everything directly back to their needs and the job requirements. Actually, yes. I just want to quickly re-emphasize the key strengths I believe make me a great fit. First, my direct experience in mentioned similar job task means I can hit the ground running and apply lessons learned immediately. Second, my management skills allow me to run a department effectively and fairly, fostering teamwork. Third, my proven record of success, like the mention-specific award or quantified result I achieved, shows I bring creativity and deliver results. And finally, my genuine enthusiasm. I'm truly excited about the possibility of contributing here.
And end with.
And with an action-oriented question that shows you're ready for the next step. Based on our conversation today, what are the next steps in the hiring process, and when do you expect to make a decision?
Variations like, why should I hire you? Or if you were me, would you hire you? Same approach.
Exactly. They're all direct invitations to deliver that compelling closing summary of your unique value proposition.
Okay, money. Salary discussions, when and how.
Don't avoid it, but timing is everything. Usually this comes up later in the process, often after they've decided they're interested in you. Don't bring it up too early yourself.
Preparation needed.
Absolutely crucial. You must know what your skills and experience are worth in the current market research salary ranges for similar roles in your specific industry and geographic area. Look at total compensation packages, not just base salary, bonuses, benefits, etc. Resources like Glassdoor, Salary.com, industry surveys can help.
And for women specifically.
Yes, our source emphasizes. Research what men typically earn for the same job in that company or industry and expect equivalent pay. Don't undervalue yourself. Have confidence in your worth. Never gush, oh, I'd work for the sheer fun of it. Be professional about compensation.
What if they push back? The salary you're asking for is near the top of the range for this job. Why should we pay you this much?
Be ready to justify it based on the tangible value you bring. Remind them of the specific cost savings, revenue generation, or efficiency improvements you can deliver, linking back to examples you discussed. That's a fair question. As I mentioned in my previous role, I was able to cut departmental expenses by 10% within the first year by negotiating better vendor contracts and streamlining processes. I'm confident the savings and efficiencies I could bring to your team would quickly offset the additional salary investment. Quantify your value.
Okay. When can you start? How to answer.
If you've been laid off and fired, you can usually say immediately or as soon as the background check clears. If you're currently working, the standard professional courtesy is to give at least 2 weeks' notice. More might be appropriate if you have significant responsibilities or projects to hand over. Never burn bridges with your current employer.
Show flexibility.
Yes. Offer to help ensure a smooth transition. Maybe help find or train your replacement. Offer to study relevant materials or complete onboarding paperwork off hours before your start date, or even attend important company events if appropriate.
But light.
Saying you aren't sure when you can start, or saying you want to take a long vacation before starting. It suggests you're putting your own needs above theirs right from the beginning.
How about, is there anything that will inhibit you from taking this job if offered? Sounds like a final check.
It is. They're trying to uncover any last-minute, previously hidden concerns or deal breakers maybe about the salary, benefits, work environment, commute, or personal obligations before they go through the effort of making a formal offer. The expected green line answer, assuming you want the job, is a confirmation. Absolutely not. I'm very excited about this possibility.
Are you considering any other offers right now? Be honest.
Generally, it's wise to play your cards close to the vest. Here, keep your other prospects private unless you have a strategic reason to reveal them. There's usually no significant gain from admitting you have other offers unless you're genuinely trying to leverage a faster decision from this company, or perhaps subtly imply you're a highly sought-after candidate. Even then, don't reveal specific details about the other offers unless absolutely necessary for negotiation. Keep the focus on this opportunity.
Okay, the interview's over. What about pre-interview etiquette, the follow-up?
Crucial. First, before you leave, always ask about their timeline. When do you expect to make a decision?
Then the thank you note.
Yes. Write one promptly within 24 hours is ideal. Keep it short, professional, and sweet. Reiterate your strong interest in the specific role. Briefly remind them of one or two key skills or experiences you discussed that align perfectly with a key job requirement. Type it, proofread carefully. No errors. Email is standard now, but a handwritten note can sometimes stand out for certain roles or industries.
Anything else after sending the note?
It's a good idea to revisit your master resume based on the interview. Did any questions reveal areas that needed clarification? Did you remember any key accomplishments you forgot to mention? Update it while it's fresh.
And keeping in touch if you don't hear back.
Don't panic if there's a delay beyond their stated timeline. Hiring processes often take longer than expected. It is okay to follow up politely, maybe a brief email or call a week or so after their deadline passes. But don't pester them. Calling maybe once or twice more over a few weeks if you hear nothing is usually the limit. Just inquire about the status and reiterate your continued strong interest.
And if you get the offer?
Accept, but in your own time, on your own terms. Never feel pressured to accept immediately on the spot. It's perfectly professional to thank them enthusiastically and ask for a day or two, or until an agreed-upon date, to consider the formal offer thoroughly. If you decide to refuse, do so politely and professionally. You never know when your paths might cross again.
And finally,
Congratulate yourself. Job interviewing is tough. You prepared, you performed, you made it through. Regardless of the outcome, acknowledge the effort.
before we wrap this segment, you mentioned the importance of asking questions, and there were some key questions for us to ask ourselves before accepting.
Yes, absolutely. Before you say yes to any offer, honestly ask yourself, 1, can I really do this job well? Honest self-assessment. 2, do I truly want this job? Is there passion or just relief? 3, does this job fit my long-range career plans? Is it a step forward? 4, will I fit in here? Did I like the prospective boss, the team, the vibe? 5, can I realistically live on the offered salary and benefits, meet financial needs? And 6, do I feel secure taking this job? Is the company stable, financially healthy?
And reminding us of key questions to ask the interviewer during the process.
Right. Questions like, do you have any concerns about my ability to perform this role that I could address? Uncovers hidden objections. What are the department's main goals in the next year? Could you describe a typical day or week in this role? Clarifies expectations. Why is this position currently available? New role equals growth or high turnover. How would my performance be measured? Expectations reviews raises. Could you explain the organizational structure a bit more? What changes would you ideally like to see happen in this department or role? Opportunity to show how you can help. Is there anything else I can tell you that would help you make your decision? Directly implies interest, helps close. When do you expect to make a final decision? Conveys strong interest. Maybe even, are there any upcoming team events or projects I can learn about before my potential start date? Gauges culture, shows initiative. Or what could I do between now and potentially starting to jumpstart my entry into the role? Shows passion and proactivity. Asking good questions is vital, proclaims interest, turns it into a conversation, builds rapport, establishes that crucial chemistry. Hashtag outro. Wow, we've really covered a tremendous amount today, haven't we? From building that detailed personal inventory all the way through dissecting just about every type of interview question and strategy imaginable.
We really did dive deep.
Yeah, and I think the core takeaway, the bottom line, is really clear. Preparation isn't just about memorizing answers. It's much deeper. It's about fundamentally understanding yourself, understanding the company you're talking to, and understanding the subtle, dynamic dance of the interview itself.
Absolutely. And remember, this isn't just, theoretical advice. Every single piece of strategy we share today is designed to give you concrete tools. Tools to feel more confident, more in control, turning what can often feel like a really stressful experience into a genuinely powerful opportunity for connection and, well, for showing what you can do.
That's right. You're not just there to passively answer questions. You're actively telling your unique story, but with purpose, with precision.
Yeah, owning your narrative.
So as you prepare for your next interview, your next important conversation, maybe consider this. If the interview is like a portrait you're painting of yourself for them, what specific colors, what highlights will you choose? What compelling, authentic story will you ensure shines through, inviting them to want to know more?
That's a great way to think about it. And to all our listeners, especially those of you who might feel that extra layer of challenge, like second interview almost, when you're
Right.
navigating these conversations in English, we really hope today's deep dive has given you some clarity, maybe a renewed sense of empowerment. Remember, your unique background, the very diligence you show in learning and improving your English, your determination, these are immense strengths. Interviewers value those qualities. They truly make you stand out. Every new word you learn, every conversation you navigate, it just builds your resilience, your confidence.
You are already demonstrating incredible courage and initiative just by putting yourself in these situations and continuously striving to improve.
Hmm.
Hold on to that. Really believe in your abilities and know that thoughtful preparation, coupled with that inherent drive you clearly possess, will absolutely pave the way for your success. We're genuinely so proud of your dedication to becoming the most well-informed, capable version of yourself. Keep learning, keep growing. You've got this.
Well said. So if you found this deep dive valuable today, please take just a moment to like this episode, maybe share it with a friend or colleague who might benefit, and definitely subscribe to the deep dive for more insights and knowledge explorations. We'll be back soon with another topic to unpack and explore together.